나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 Bonjour a mes amis. Buenos días a todos mis amigos. Hello. Good day, my friends. Here we are again. I think we're definitely going to, this is probably going to be a short video today, but a necessary one as the culmination of selecting the right time. And Nichiren makes his final point, I think, in this. Although he's made many points, salient points throughout this Gosho, comes down to one essential truth about our Buddhist practice. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this podcast, both in video on this channel and audio on the Podbean network and all the networks where you get the Buddhahood podcast available everywhere. Exhortation not to spare one's own life for the sake of the supreme way. Once again, to clarify, however this is translated, there is no energies toward the taking of one's life in this discussion. This is merely, not merely, but importantly, about the level of dedication, the level of commitment, the level of confidence that we have in our ability to instantiate Buddha in our mind, in our consciousness. Buddha is a consciousness. It is the ninth consciousness. You can look that up on this channel. You can look it up on the website, threefoldlotus.com. Nichiren begins with a question. Now, in this Lotus Sutra, 13th chapter, it is said, quote, I will not spare my life. I will spare only the supreme way. End quote. It is also said in the Nirvana Sutra, just as a loyal emissary skillful in talking and dealing is sent to a foreign land and carries out the royal order even at the cost of his own life by stating the king's words without concealing them, likewise, wise men should expound the Mahayana teachings secretly held by the Buddha, namely, that each person possesses the Buddha nature in him. This should be expounded among ordinary people even at the cost of life. I would like to hear, the question continues, you explain why it is necessary for them to sacrifice their lives. Again, pay attention here. Nichiren answers. At first I wondered whether or not the dangerous trips to China by Dengyo, Kobo, Chikaku, and Chisho under imperial order were what is referred to as, quote, I will not spare my life, end quote. I also wondered whether or not that Tripitaka master, Xuan Chang, almost losing his life 6 times trying to reach India from China, that young ascetic in the snow mountains, end quote. Oh, that's not a quote, sorry. Sacrificing his own life in order to hear half a verse. That's actually an excerpt from a sutra, right? A teaching. Expedient teaching. And that Medicine King Bodhisattva burned his own elbow to offer a light to Sun Moon Pure Bright Virtue Buddha for as long as 72,000 years, referred to as I will not spare my life. According to sutras, however, this is not so. All right, clear this up for us, Nichiren. Before the phrase, quote, I will not spare my life, end quote, is mentioned in the Lotus Sutra, it is preached that the three kinds of enemies of the Lotus Sutra will abuse and accuse those who believe in it and attack them with sticks and swords until they die. The phrase, quote, even at the cost of life, end quote, in the Nirvana Sutra is followed by, quote, an Ichantika who does not have confidence in the true Dharma, in a disguise of an Arhat, lives in a quiet mountain slandering Mahayana Sutras. Having seen such a man, ordinary people would say that he is a true Arhat and a great Bodhisattva, end quote. Speaking of the third of the three kinds of enemies of the Lotus Sutra, the sutra says, quote, there are some who will live in a quiet mountain monastery wearing patched clothing. They will be respected by the people as though they were arhats with 6 superhuman powers, end quote. It is also said in a 6th-faciled Nirvana Sutra, quote, there are some Ichantika who resemble arhats and do evil deeds, end quote. These passages mean that the worst enemies of the true Dharma are not to be found among wicked kings and his wicked subjects, among heretics and the king of the devils, Dairakuta no Mao, or among monks without precepts. The worst slanderers of the true Dharma are to be found among those high-ranking monks who uphold precepts and are regarded to be wise men. Therefore, Grandmaster Mialo writes, quote, among the three kinds of enemies, the third one is the worst. As we go through the first kind, second kind, and third kind, the latter ones are more cunning in pretending to be sages, and therefore it is harder to reveal their wickedness. It is said in the Lotus Sutra, Facile 5, Chapter 14, quote, this Lotus Sutra is the secret treasure of all Buddhas. It is supreme of all sutras, end quote. Please note that it is supreme of all sutras. According to this sutra, therefore, he who insists that the Lotus Sutra is supreme of all sutras is a true practicer of the Lotus Sutra, isn't he? Nevertheless, many who are revered in the land insist that there are sutras superior to the Lotus. Standing against these monks who are revered by the king and his subjects, the practicer of the Lotus Sutra is poor and powerless, with all the people in the land despising him. Under such circumstances, if he points out their error of slandering the true Dharma as stubbornly as never despising Bodhisattva, or as decisively as commentator Bhadraruchi defeated Brahman, the boaster, his life will be in jeopardy. This seems of prime importance. This fits me, Nichiren. In my present status, it is not easy to state that such monks as Grandmaster Kobo and Jikaku, or Tripitaka Master Sabudkarashima, Vajrabodai, and Vajra are enemies of the Lotus Sutra, and that if the sutra is true, there is no doubt that they will all fall into the hell of incessant suffering. For example, As I preached in the Lotus Sutra, as preached. Wow, let me start that over. For example, as preached in the Lotus Sutra, chapter 11, it is easy to walk through a great fire, grab Mount Sumeru, and throw it away, or walk on an ocean carrying a huge rock. It is most difficult, however, to establish the teaching of the Lotus Sutra in Japan. Without constant support extended by Lord Shakyamuni Buddha in the pure land of Mount Sacred Peak, or Eagle Peak, the Buddha of many treasures in the treasury purity world, Buddhas and manifestations in all the worlds, in the universe, numerous bodhisattvas emerged from the earth, the king of the Brahma heaven, Indra, the sun and moon, the four heavenly kings. How can we have tranquility even for an hour or a day? And this is how the remnants of this document exist. That's the end of the document at that point. So, what do we learn from this? Well, first of all, the selecting the right time would seem to be, certainly from the beginning to the middle, a very concerted effort by Nichiren to demonstrate the history of the transference, the movement through time of the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. On the one hand, there's the tract of teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha throughout his life, which remain as they've always been, very specific, very detailed, and immovable, as they are translated over time by scholars who truly perceive the meaning and therefore do not deviate from Shakyamuni's teachings and stories, his expedients, to maintain the purity of Buddhism. On the other hand, there is the samsaric world of politicking, power, land ownership, money, status, and the hierarchies and organizations that are sects and lay organizations are all built primarily on supporting themselves. I've said this often. The first directive of any sect or organization is to promote the prosperity and continued viability of the organizations. The members, the participants, the singular entities that fall under the umbrella of the organization, the laity, the sectarian divisions, they don't even come second. What comes second is the structure of control, the structure of the hierarchy, the who pays abeyance to whom, within the structure that is the organization. The humans portion of it are lucky if they're tertiary, because the tertiary level, the third level down from the top, is generally given to generals, those who keep order amongst the membership. But the very structure of organizations is anti-Buddhist. We humans are built, are constructed of an insatiable desire to commune. It's in our DNA. Our system of our species, our very existence is split in two, male and female, into sexes, for the specific reason of using that primary karmic engine of desire, of wanting to instantiate, that brings this other object, the opposite sex, into our fullness, our sense of accomplishment, our sense of maintaining that momentum of karma to procreate and make bring forth more manifestations of this energy of wanting to be. It's important to understand that, because though you may look from a distance at the amazingly beautiful, unimaginable power of that samsaric reality that continues the species and the instantiation of mind, therefore, it is at the same time our greatest flaw, because it allows that mind to wonder about its organization as bound by this very powerful energy of attraction, of accruing, of possession, fear of loss. From all of those fears and avarice and need at a cellular level begets our suffering, our stress about those very things, positive or negative. It leads to manipulation, trickery, war, murder, theft, boastfulness, pride, false pride, I would say, because it's pride based on possession. You see? That's the human condition, plain and simple. Buddhism analyzes this state of humanity in just this way, through storytelling, analysis, training, privations, to really nail down the source of these things in ourselves, our individual experience of them. But ultimately, why? Buddhism isn't about punishing us for being human. It's about taking this amazing structure of what is humanness and putting it through a different lens, with all of that amazing power, that amazing energy, that momentum, and then seeing it without all of its attendant stresses and fears and the sufferings of life, and see it clearly without emotional attachment for what it truly is. Absolutely wondrous, amazing. And at the same time, being keenly aware from that vantage point of how people suffer them in themselves, make others suffer, manipulate, all the games, the gamesmanship, if you will, of the state of humanity. Without that gamesmanship, suddenly becomes immaculate, amazing, rewarding. From a Buddha perspective, yeah. But whatever you do, whether you're an artist, an accountant, a nurse, a doctor, a mathematician, a builder of houses, a plumber. It doesn't matter what you do to subsist in samsara. What matters is how you understand it, how you see whatever it is you're doing as a part of this immense whole. But that message is only realized personally. I can tell you all day long. You could read it in books. But until you yourself experience that moment of release and embrace at the same time, then you will know. So how do you get there? Organizations can't get you there because they're outside of you, imposing on you. And because of that, they're all manipulating one another for ego, distinction, hierarchy. That's not Buddhist. So it's really odd that oftentimes, well, throughout history, great temples of influence have risen up all over the world, claiming the mantle of Buddhism. Now, I'm not saying they've never had a function. What I am saying is their function is transitory. Buddhism doesn't exist in the temple. It exists in you. It exists, more accurately, in the mind. You can't point to a molecule or a cell in the body and say, there's Buddhism. It exists in the mind. And therefore, it exists nowhere and everywhere. Whether it's perceived or perceiving is an issue of the mind. And so what Nichiren is resolving at the end of this document is that now that you understand, and I've elocuted with Nichiren's own teachings, Shakyamuni's own teachings, that the self-practice, the Lotus Sutra, is the culmination, it is the very core of the teachings of Buddha for us individually to manifest and experience. And now, having said that, those who would claim that Buddhism resides somewhere else, in themselves, in a temple, in an organization, in a different stream of thought, in something completely other than this Lotus Sutra, those you may have befriended more closely than anyone else in your life because of shared rhetoric, stand to be your most damaging influence. Never let it be that you lose sight, grasp, conviction, resolve in Buddha being a state of your manifestation. Nowhere else. That is the final statement he is making, is that if you're looking for Buddha and Buddhism is in its entirety, you must do it yourself on your own. And in a way that sounds like, feels like, may appear to be a cutting off of everything else in your life. I can't have friends. I can't belong to things. I can't. Well, it may be useful to have that thought in mind as you are resolved to single-mindedly experience Buddha, because it only happens in your mind. But at the same time, we don't leave this human coil, because the only purpose of enlightenment is to live this life fully and well. That doesn't mean getting rid of everything else. That means it all reappears via a new mental state, a new lens, a new understanding, a clear understanding of the motion and fluidity of energy throughout all time and space, moment, birth, constantly flowing as you are. Released from the fear of losing and the avarice of gaining. Have those human behaviors, but understand that they are not life itself, but merely conditions of, temporary conditions of the life process, the ongoing amazing engine. That is the right time. That right time is yours without beginning or end. That is the Buddha of absolute freedom that we recite in the first part of Gongyo. Yeah? The first meditation. Or is that that's the second meditation. Yeah? The first is obviously simply to be in this universe. This samsaric opportunity. Wow. Without it, I would not have a mind in which to perceive the Buddha of absolute freedom, the second meditation. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope I've said that clearly enough. If not, I'm keen to read your comments and your emails, however you choose to let me know. And please do. Please like and subscribe. For us to work within the parameters of YouTube, it's incredibly important to like and subscribe and even share, to take advantage of the algorithms of YouTube to perform a bodhisattva step with our study, to help it be more easily found, right? Promoted. So this is a short video, but a profound one nonetheless. Please let me know what you're thinking about this. And what do we read next? Shall I give you since it's a short video, there's a couple of short, maybe that's a longer one. Yeah. We'll just jump around through a few short, this was a long one, so we'll have some fun with some of the shorter ones. Everything that we have that's extant of Nichiren's writings has a reminder or an introduction of a new way of understanding the same things, the Lotus Sutra, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. It's about our resolve, our commandment of owning this life, if you will, without stricture, without limits, and seeing what that looks like, what that appears like. Being the grand wisdom witness of every force, every manifestation of potential in the universe. What an amazing place to be. And yeah, that's all. That's all Buddha is. All right. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one. That's kind of a, what do they call those games of logic that you state the obvious, but it sounds like you stated something profound. Yes, I will see you here in the next one. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Enjoy your practice. Get your mandala if you don't already have it. Please do that. Let me know if I can help in any way. And be kind. Watch your health. And bye for now.